next jig we're going to work on is a real basic crappie jig. It's a Marabou jig as well. We're going to use a little bit larger jig head. We're going to use Marabou, but we're also going to add in a chenille body. I'm going to go ahead and change to chartreuse thread because the other materials I'm using on the jig are chartreuse. Just going to go ahead and wrap some thread along the bare part of the shank. That helps a lot of our materials keep from sliding around. We'll take some chartreuse Marabou. Here again, I'll wet it. Now I'm going to tie in this Marabou at the tail, right at the last of the flat part of the shank. We're going to have a Marabou tail, then in front we're going to have a chenille body, which is a lot closer to what a lot of people are seeing in terms of a crappie jig. I'm going to go ahead and measure my tail length. I don't like the tail being too much longer than the whole front part of the jig. So I'm going to measure it like this. Tie it in, get a couple wraps on there. And here again, I think I could stand to have a little more Marabou, so I'm going to add in a second clump. Try to keep it the same length as the first clump. Here again, wetting the Marabou. Tie the Marabou in. Start with a couple loose wraps and don't let go of it until you get a few good wraps on there, and then it's not going to go anywhere. Now we've got all this material up front. I'm just going to kind of hold it with the other hand and spiral some wraps over it rather than cutting it off right there. And the only reason I do that primarily is for aesthetics, because this will keep a nice, even underbody. So I haven't got any humps or lumps or anything under there, so when I wrap my chenille for it, I'll have a nice level body. Chenille is just a body material. It's different types, different colors. Here again, if you like, say, a regular rubber crappie jig with a chartreuse tail and a black body, you can tie that same type of pattern with this. You would just, rather than using chartreuse chenille, you'd use black chenille. Here again, you're the boss, and that is the biggest reason to tie your own jigs. You can suit yourself. When I go ahead and tie this chenille in, I'm going to start by tying it in just kind of right behind the head, not too far. Give it a couple wraps, and I'm going to hold it on top of the hook and take my thread back to the tie-in point right there. Here again, what I've done is I've kept my underbody level. If I'd have tied it in at the back here, by now I'd have had a big lump back here, and the back of my body would be fatter than the front. Now I've got a pretty even foundation to wrap the chenille on. All you do when you go to wrap materials like this is I reach over the top, keep it snug, and then when you get underneath, just grab it with your fingers underneath, go over the top, keep your hand ready down here, and that helps you keep tension all the way around. If you try to follow all the way around with one hand, all of a sudden you start losing tension. This way you can keep nice snug tension. Just wrap one wrap in front of the other nice and tight. Nice little body. Keep your tension, and then I go ahead and bring the thread behind the chenille so I can cinch it down. And then I can get a couple more good wraps. And basically that jig is done. All I need to do is cut that chenille off, do my whip finish, and add a little drop of cement, and that jig is done. Here again, variations. You can put a little flash in the tail if you like. Use different colors of chenille. And this is a very effective jig. They use them for white bass, crappie. You can catch trout on this size jigs as well. But this is probably one of the most popular jigs we sell as a crappie jig. We have a lot of crappie fishermen.